So I posted a video last week about my unlucky loss at the first Champions Meeting Taurus Cup. It was meant to be a lighthearted video to get a few laughs out of my misfortune, but the actual purpose of the video was to share a hopeful and optimistic message that it is okay to lose our first Champions Meeting. But then I ran into these comments. Reading these comments, you're probably like, Henry, what did he do to this guy? Did you kidnap his dog or something? Well, I'm very appreciative that you cared this much to write not one, but 2 long essays on my video. Thank you for your constructive criticism. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to look over his comment to see if it's actually correct. Do I actually know my stuff and provide good information and deserve your subscription? Or am I really washed as a content creator and not worthy of your time? You can decide after watching this video. If you do decide that I'm still worthy of your time, I would appreciate it if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, because only 3% of you guys are subscribed to my channel. And to my current subscriber, thank you so much. You guys are the best. Oh, and this video was made because I thought it would be funny, but also to share a good information. It's not made to publicly attack the original commenter, so please do not go and harass this guy. It all started with this first comment, which another viewer criticized my team for running a goal ship and Oguri with only a single goal recovery with very low wit and more. I mean, it's a valid criticism. It's not any new information for me. So as a response, I said, yeah, I'm aware of all these facts. The 7% chance misfortune was the reason why I lost the final. That I would have still won if I didn't get rushed. I didn't say anything wrong, but I guess it could have came up as an arrogant response. Hence, I actually removed my comment. But before I removed my comment, that's where this comment came from. It was a response to my response. So this commenter told me to just take the criticism and learn from it rather than know-it-all aware of these. Well, first, I'm sorry if I came up as an arrogant know-it-all, but it is 100% true that I already know all these stuff. And there was the only comment either. There was a couple of other commenters who was saying, I didn't get 2 golden recovery. I deserve this loss. It's true that running a 2 golden recovery could have been the safer option, but that doesn't mean that it is always the correct option. These guys are talking like having 2 golden recovery is guaranteed that you will never run out of stamina. Even with 2 golden recovery, there's 9% chance that both of them doesn't activate. But that doesn't seem too likely, right? But you know what's more unlikely? That's right, my misfortunes. I lost because of the 7% chance, which is even more rare than a 9% chance. If you watched my replay, you will know that even one of these didn't happen, then I would have easily won my Taurus Cup final. It's not like I didn't understand that it could be more risky to take only a single golden recovery. But you guys need to remember that running another golden recovery is a premium. Without any hint, discount costs 340 skill points, and each and every run is different. For example, on this run, I got max speed, high stamina, and a really high power. But I've failed to get a medium S. My goal ship had a high stamina that I felt comfortable to run it with just a single recovery. Should I have been safe and choose to run a golem specialist for 340 skill points, which only would have impacted 10% of my match? Or should I have spent those skill points to run more acceleration and speed skill instead? I choose to pick the latter option. Knowing the result, it's easy to point finger and say that was the wrong option. But before the final race, it's actually hard to say which was the correct option. Actually, the less optimal move in Taurus Cup would have been to run a triple golden recoveries. You would not have enough points left over for other skills. Each trainer has a different playstyle. Some people are more risk averse, running 2 or even 3 golden recoveries with 1000 stamina, trying to protect yourself from the low roll. But other players can be more risk taking. Instead of worrying about the low roll, that you try to make your high roll the strongest it could be. Remember, stamina is only a stat check. As long as you meet a certain HP threshold, any additional stamina is just a waste until this new mechanic gets added in 2.5 anniversary. But what if I met a really strong opponent with the max out speed and medium S? I would have a much harder time beating that player's gold ship with 2 golden recovery skills and less speed and acceleration skill. You have to bank on your high roll to be able to beat better opponent, especially since I don't have medium S. I wanted to mention this before the Gemini Cup because it seems like some trainers are too hyper-fixated on meeting the stamina requirement. While there is no doubt that stamina is going to be important and running more golden recovery is the safer option, but is it always the best option? That's really hard to say. Even if you have 1200 stamina with 2 golden recovery, if your speed and power is lacking, it's possible to still lose to an opponent with just enough stamina that happens to trigger their single golden recovery at the right time. This could be a balanced strategy, especially if you're running a multiple ace. There is no one strategy that will be able to beat every single opponent. And even if you build a perfect Uma, RNG can always have their ways on the race. End of the day, Musume is a speed game. Whoever's the fastest and cross the finish line first will win. But I'm not saying that speed is the only important stat. You have to take a balanced approach. And if you choose to raise one stat over the other, you need to know the risk and benefits. Musume is a balance game. You cannot increase one stat without lowering the other stat. At 200 266 wit, I only had a 20% chance of getting rushed. At 300 wit, it's 19%, or only 1% increase. And at 400 wit, it's only 16.24%. As you can see, wit only has a slight increment of benefit against getting rushed. At one point, is wit enough? Generally, 400 wit is recommended, but that doesn't mean that Umas with anything less than that can never win a race. As you can see from my win rate, they can consistently win majority of their race. Generally, you don't run into this misfortune that often. It only happens 7 out of 100 runs. Yeah, it would have been best. If I could get 1200s on every single stat, I would have done so. But that's currently impossible, even for the whales with the current sets of cards and spark. It also depends on the card that they're running, sparks they're bringing, and what kind of friendship training that they got during the run. There are so many different factors that plays into the final stats that you can't just say that one load is better than the other. You can't just say that low wit equal bad. And I know that there are other benefits of having high wits, such as speed and stamina boost during the downhill, and target speed modification chance. But none of these are the reason why I lost the finals. With the new sparks that I gotten, even though I can consistently get 12 max speed and stamina at the same time, I still can do this without sacrificing some of the powers. And it's hard to say which one is always better, to have maximum stamina so you're less likely to run out of HP, or to have more power for better acceleration during the last spurt. And power plays a big role during the uphill section. A Korean YouTuber named Black Professor did a comparison where he tested against high power low wisdom versus low power and high wisdom. They're pretty much the same, but the high power was usually more consistent one, where the high wit has the higher potential. And if you look at the track for the Taurus Cup, you notice that there's more uphill section than a downhill section. So there was only one section where you can benefit from higher wit from the downhill, compared to 4 different sections where you could have benefit from high power during the uphill section. It also depends on the team comp that you'll be using. Do you have multiple ace, or are you only betting on a single ace supported by a multiple debuffer? If you're only running a single ace, then it might be better to be more conservative to run additional golden recovery. But if you have additional ace that you can rely on, then it might be better to make each ace as strong as possible with more speed and acceleration skills instead. You just can't say one option is better than the other 100% of the time. As for the debuff, of course I knew there were going to be a debuffs on the final. And everyone knows that UMA later doesn't take account of debuff external factors such as getting blocked or skill proc rate. UMA later is a tool that we use to compare UMAs to see which one is stronger on paper. I just used it on the last video to show that on paper my gold ship is much stronger than his. And that's not the only tool that I use. With my gold ship, I ran multiple room matches, testing my team against various different opponents, one with 1 or even 2 debuffer, and found out that my gold ship doesn't really have trouble running out of stamina that much. In fact, out of 80 matches during the first and second round, I spectated around 30 matches, and not a single one of them she ran out of stamina. And as you can see, my team had a respectable 71% win rate during the Taurus Cup. I mean, it's not the strongest team. There's some players with 80 plus win rate, but it's definitely not a bad score. You can see that my gold ship had a pretty good average time. Usually the first place get around 2 minute and 21 second time, and that's usually good enough to win. I even had a couple of runs where I had a perfect 5 wins. So as you can see, my gold ship was really consistent, contrary to some people's comments. And because I choose to take more offensive skills, when the star aligns perfectly, I was able to be a really strong player with the perfect amount of stats, skills, and BDMS with 2 minute and 20 second times. So you can see that my team was actually not that bad, and they definitely had some chance to win the final. I have to agree that I didn't get medium S on my gold ship, and that's probably the reason why my team only has 70% win rate instead of 80 or 90% win rate. When I make recommendation to my viewer, I do recommend my viewers to go for a distance as if possible. But I also understand that it's all a matter of luck. Sometimes you just might not get the perfect, and especially knowing how little time that we're given between each champions meeting due to the accelerated schedule. And also understanding that the current pools that we can borrow are also not perfect at the moment. But he's saying that I set myself up for failure. I lost to an average opponent. And that's true. He didn't have max speed or the acceleration skill, and took some of the bad skill like coast is clear. And it doesn't matter if my matchup look easy on paper, but that's not important. You gotta look at what his finish time was. My opponent got 2 minutes and 21.4 seconds, which is not a crazy time for a first place. I was only half length away from first. So even though I ran out of stamina like 3 seconds before the finish line, that means I probably finished around 2 minutes and 22 seconds if I didn't get rushed. I probably would have had more than enough stamina to finish the run, probably somewhere in the pre-21 second time. I understand that it's okay for there to be an upset, albeit no matter how small the chance is. That's just the nature of horse racing. But it's crazy to say that I lost for any other reason than a bad luck, or that I set myself up for the failure. And I understand that all these criticism comes from warm up heart for my own betterment. I do take my work as a YouTuber very seriously. I do a lot of research and look for many different perspectives to make sure that I do not spread any misinformation. So if I do make any mistake, please call me out on the comment below. And I will definitely do my best trying to address it and resolve it. And I have seen this image flowing around recently. We're not running a grand scheme where all the content creators are working together to start a misinformation campaign for us to get an easy Champions Meeting finals win. It's just that maybe every content creator is their own individual, but I have to disagree that there's only one way to play this game correctly. Yeah, the game has been out for more than 4.5 years in JP and over 3 years ago in Korea. But this game is far from being fully played out. Every player has a different perspective and amount of money they're willing to spend on the game. They have a specific preference in play style, different level of risk tolerance. They all have a different support cards, sparks, and umas in their arsenal. And they all have a different level of interest, willingness, and amount of effort that they're willing to put towards this game. What I'm trying to say is that there is not one single answer that works for every player in Musume. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of other content creators, but when I make a video, I try to do my best to present as much information as possible from various sources of information so you can decide which choice to make. Yes, I'm a YouTuber, but I also have a full-time job and a kid to take care of. And on top of that, I need to spend time doing research and edit the video. I did put good amount of time into my Champions Meeting team, but you can't farm for a single unit forever. At some point, you have to say that's good enough and move on to the next Champions Meeting. This is especially true in global, where next Champions Meeting is coming so fast due to the accelerated schedule. My job as a YouTuber is not to win every single Champions Meeting, but my goal is to make fun and informative videos for my viewers. I'm especially interested in helping out free-to-play and low-spender players. That's why I decided to make a carat calculator and a banner preview video to do my best to help them make an informed decision without having to spend too much money. But I personally think that you're out of line calling content creator undedicated or non-optimal just because he chose to play the game a little differently and got unlucky and lost the Champions Meeting final. And that's all I have to say for this topic. Starting next week, I'll come back to my regular content where I'll go over Aoharu scenario and what makes Rice Shower and Riko Kashimoto cards so good. Sorry if this video sounded too ranty. I don't really mind that much that I lost the Champions Meeting final. I always knew that it was going to be 50-50, whether I win or not, when I decided to run with no medium S gold ship. And I genuinely thought that my team was good enough to have a potential to win, and that was good enough for me. The main purpose of why I decided to make this video was because I believe that these are very good information, and I wanted to talk about Gemini Cup to the trainer who are too stamina pill, too hyper fixated on meeting the stamina requirement. There's more than one way to play this game. I hope you found this video to be informative. Other than that, one announcement that Henry Handsome Derby Discord server is now open. I know a lot of you were asking for friend slot for my Oguri cap. I'll have a channel in my Discord server where you can come and ask me to free up a spot. Link will be provided in the description below. And remember, please do not go to the original commenter to harass him. At the end of the day, it's just a game that we're supposed to have fun, nothing too serious. We're all just here for the same reason, to cheer for our favorite anime horse girl, racing. But don't you dare make fun of my horse daughters again. Just kidding. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a handsome day.